It was meant to be a routine flight. A group of strangers bound for a tropical vacation sat side by side in a sleek airplane. There was Tom, a seasoned businessman in his mid-40s, still clinging to his briefcase as if it could save him. Beside him sat Chloe, a teenager with a rebellious spirit, lost in her phone, earbuds blocking the world. Across from them was Lucy, a kind-hearted woman in her 60s, knitting a scarf for her grandson, as calm as could be. And then there was Max, barely 10 years old, who couldn't sit still, eyes wide with excitement and wonder at the view. But all of that changed in an instant. A sudden, violent tremor shook the aircraft, and the screeching sound of metal on metal filled the air. The plane pitched and rolled wildly as the seatbelts tightened. In a matter of seconds, the world outside the windows became a blur of green, a terrifying descent into the unknown. With a deafening crash, the plane slammed into the dense jungle, breaking apart as the flames began to lick at the wreckage. Miraculously, the survivors, though injured, lived. The wreckage was a nightmare, a twisted frame of metal scattered across the jungle floor, half submerged in the sandy shores of an uncharted beach. The survivors were disoriented, bleeding, but alive. They slowly crawled out from the wreckage, their faces smudged with dirt and smoke, their breaths ragged. Day 1. The wake-up call. Tom was the first to regain his senses. His suit was torn, his forehead bruised from impact, but he was still capable. Chloe, shocked and trembling, was next. She had lost her phone somewhere in the crash, but seemed more concerned with her survival than finding it. Max was crying, his small hands covered in blood from cuts across his face. Lucy, despite her age, was already trying to comfort him, whispering that they would be okay. The warmth of the ocean just a few yards away seemed surreal amidst the chaos. "Stay close," Tom commanded, his voice strong, the kind of authority born from years of responsibility. He was the oldest male survivor, and instinctively he took on the role of leader. The survivors assessed their situation. They were stranded on a remote island with no clear way out. The jungle stretched endlessly in all directions, thick with untamed trees and wildlife. The only break was the beach and the ocean, which seemed like both a potential way out and an uninviting force. Lucy, though older, surprised them all by springing into action. "We need water, food, and shelter. We can't wait here. We need to figure out our next move." Her calmness became a grounding force as she began to gather the wreckage for materials. Chloe, still upset, went with her. She might have been angry, but she was also resourceful, and her experience on social media had taught her about survival techniques. Max followed Tom into the jungle, the two of them picking through the undergrowth to gather wood and supplies. They were a mismatched group, but they worked. Over the course of the day, they managed to build a makeshift shelter from broken plane parts and palm fronds, set up a small fire, and drink rainwater collected in abandoned containers. As night fell, the sounds of the jungle surrounded them. The cries of nocturnal animals echoed through the trees, but they were safe, for now. Day 3. Rising tensions. By the third day, the harsh realities of survival began to set in. Food was scarce and tempers flared. Tom's leadership was put to the test as each survivor grew more desperate. Max was scared, his small body frail from hunger. Chloe, who had started off with a sharp attitude, was now reluctantly cooperating, but was irritated by the constant efforts to stay positive. Her only concern was how long they would be stuck here, and she began snapping at the others. "You don't get it," she shouted at Tom one afternoon. "You think just because you're in charge it's going to fix everything? We're stuck." Tom looked at her, his face hard, but his eyes filled with understanding. I get it, Chloe, I do, but we don't have time for this. We need each other, no matter how frustrated we get. Lucy, always the peacemaker, stepped between them. We need a plan, all of us. We can't let this get the best of us. Chloe's angry words died in her throat. Lucy's calm demeanor had a way of cutting through the tension. She suggested that they explore the island. Maybe there was a way off it, a village, a sign of life. But the jungle wasn't kind to them. By day 4, they found nothing but more thick, unyielding trees, and the heat of the sun made their efforts feel futile. Still, the group didn't give up. Tom and Chloe took turns climbing trees to get a better view of their surroundings, while Lucy continued to take care of Max. The boy was ill, possibly from the shock, but Lucy made him rest, keeping his spirits up with stories of her grandchildren. Day 7. A breakthrough. It wasn't until the 7th day, after Chloe had given in and started working alongside Tom to keep the shelter stable, that they stumbled upon something that could change their fate. Max, while playing near the shore, noticed something odd, wreckage that appeared to have been from a boat. His voice echoed across the beach as he waved frantically. The others rushed over, and sure enough, there it was. An abandoned ship's rudder and broken sails tangled in the brush. It was old, worn by time, but it was enough to raise their hopes. If a boat had been here, there was a possibility they weren't completely alone. There had been people before them. After a night of discussing plans, the survivors decided to build a signal fire. They would use the wreckage from the plane to create a large enough blaze that could be seen from the air. They just needed to hope that someone, anyone, would be searching for them. Day 10. The rescue. On the 10th day, their efforts paid off. The fire crackled brightly under the dark sky, sending smoke into the clouds. It was late in the afternoon when they saw it, a plane, far off in the distance, soaring above the horizon. Tom's heart raced. That's it! They saw us! With desperate urgency, they began to wave, shout, and jump. They weren't going to give up. They had survived days in a jungle that felt like a world apart from everything they knew. They had fought the odds, with their differences becoming the force that had kept them going. And then, just as their energy began to wane, they saw the plane turn and head toward them. Epilogue. A new beginning. The survivors were rescued within hours, leaving the jungle behind as they were flown back to civilization. But the bond they had forged during those days in the heart of the wilderness was something that would never fade. Tom learned to listen more. Chloe, who had once believed in nothing but herself, found value in teamwork. Lucy, with her years of wisdom, knew that survival wasn't just about the body, it was about the spirit. And Max, with his wide-eyed innocence, would forever carry the lessons of resilience. They all came from different walks of life, different ages, different perspectives, but in the end, it was their differences that had saved them.